PGWP applications are relatively simple applications, but they're one of the most important applications that you're going to make towards your pathway to PR. And it does end up being a little bit more complex when you start involving family members such as spouses, common law partners, or dependent children, because an application refusal for whatever reason can mean that you're separated from your loved ones, which creates a lot of stress for people. The most common application that we'll see that comes in with a post-graduation work permit application is a spousal open work permit, and this is for spouses or common law partners. The good thing is that on January 30th, 2023, IRCC came out with a public policy that made it simpler and easier for family members of work permit holders in Canada, including post-graduation work permit holders, to apply for open work permits. Key one that we're going to be talking about today is the spousal open work permit. The key requirement before was that the PGWP applicant had to have a job in a NOC Tier 0, 1, 2, or 3. However, with the public policy, what ended up happening was that they included NOC Tier 4 and 5 as well. And so as long as you have a occupation in a NOC Tier 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, your spouse would be eligible to apply for a spousal open work permit. Now, with this requirement, it is also the number one reason that we see applicants that do their own applications come to us with refusals, is because they don't follow the instructions that's provided by IRCC. Now, to be fair, IRCC doesn't make it quite clear what the requirements are, because when you fill out all the questionnaires and you log into your portal, it doesn't give you the right sections to upload whatever documents you need to put in. So they require you to put everything under client information, and if you miss one thing up, then you end up getting a refusal. So the key refusal has to do with either the job offer letter or the reference letter. Either of them is okay to prove that you have a job, but if you get a job offer letter, you do need to make sure that you are starting the job when you apply for the post-graduation work permit, because the requirement is that you do have a job when you apply. With both the job offer letter and the reference letter, there are specific requirements that need to be met, like having the company's letterhead, details about your job, how many hours you're working, what's your pay, and most importantly, the officer needs to know what NOC tier it is in order to process the application. This means if you end up writing one line of what your job duties are, it can come back refused because the officer has no idea what job this is. And so what we like to do with our clients is we take a look at what your day-to-day duties are, we understand what your NOC code is, and we try to prepare a template or a draft for your employer so that it has all the information in it. It makes life easier for your employer. If they read through and agree with it, they'll sign it off, put it on their letterhead, and give it to you. That is what we find to be the most effective strategy in getting approvals. Today, we won't be able to go over all the different requirements, but obviously there are going to be other, requirements that need to be met, but this one is the most important. One other thing that I do want to go over today is the number one question that we get from applicants. And they always ask us, should we be applying together with the post-graduation work permit application, or should we apply separately? To answer that question, it is a little bit complex because everyone has different circumstances, but whenever possible, I like to submit both applications at the same time. And the reason behind that is if you have all the right, eligibility requirements and you have all the supporting documentation, the two applications will be processed together. The PGWP application will be processed first. Once a decision is reached, that decision will then be used to assess the eligibility requirements for your spousal open work permit. However, what ends up happening is that when you apply separately, you have no idea when the PGWP application is going to be processed versus the spousal open work permit. So what we've seen in the past historically is that sometimes the spousal open work permit gets processed before the PGWP, which means the requirement is that the PGWP needs to be valid for a period of at least 6 months. What happens? Spousal open work permit gets refused, and then later on, the PGWP comes back approved. In this situation, if your work permit, spousal open work permit from the study permit stage is already expired, it means your spouse is now out of status in Canada, is not eligible to work. They can restore their status and reapply. However, they cannot start working until a decision is reached on the spousal open work permit application. And so to avoid all of these headaches, we do generally prefer to submit both applications at the same time. But it is on a case-by-case basis, because sometimes it's impossible for the PGWP applicant to have a job, and because their status is expiring, they need to do something by applying for a work permit, a visitor record, whatever it is. If you have any questions about this, we are specialists in post-graduation work permits, and we help people all the time. Visit our website at pgwpcanada.com. You'll be able to fill out a quick assessment that goes over both your eligibility requirements. It'll go over spousal open work permit, dependent children, and then it'll let you know whether you have a simple, standard, or complex case so that you can decide to plan a comprehensive application. It's 100% free. It's all done on our website. After you do the assessment, if you feel that you need to speak to an immigration consultant or have us prepare your application, you can either book a free call with me to have a service inquiry about our services, or you can also book a consultation to ask immigration specific questions. Whatever it is, we're here to help. So reach out to us first and we can figure out a game plan for you.